And my dad went nuts. And because I'm only 10, I started crying. It's the first time I've seen you in a year. This is why we couldn't be together anymore. You're crazy. You're crazy. Called the police and told my dad to leave the house because my dad's saying, look, you can't raise my boys. You're going to raise them bitches. That lost his temper. When I was maybe 10, my mother and father, we grew up in Indiana in America, and my mother and father got divorced, and my dad stayed in America, and my mother moved back to England with me, my brother, and my sister.
Right.
When we got the divorce, because my mom was originally from England, and England has a social care system where you get a free house and you can live from the government money, whatever. So we had to move back to England. Yeah, so we moved back to England to a really bad area because it's free housing. And my father stayed in America to play chess because there's no chess scene where you can live off of in Europe at the time. I didn't see my father very often, but my father was a massive influence in my life. I think I had the best father on the planet. I think he was the smartest man who's ever walked the earth, bar none. Smarter than me by 100 times. I wish he was alive because having him on a podcast would break the internet. Dude was a genius. I have so many stories to prove his genius, but that's a tangent. Which we won't go
I have a little tangent here too. Your dad is Emory Tate, right?
Correct.
So in 2010, what year did he pass away?
Yeah, it was about 7 or 8 years ago now. It might have been. Okay. It might have been then. Yeah.
So in 2010, I went to a benefit with a very rich family friend of mine, and there was a man who played chess that went by the name of Mr. Tate there. And he was an older African-American fellow. And I'm not sure if that was your father, if I met your father.
Yep, you met my dad. That's truly amazing to hear because the Matrix in strange ways, and that's amazing to hear. And yes, Mr. Tate, the older African-American chess player, was my father, correct.
Yes, I played chess with him. He destroyed me. I was 9 years old.
I only saw my father maybe once a year at this point. I was about 10 years old. We'd moved from America 2 years before. I'm now living with my mother. By coincidence, my father was coming to visit, so my mom said, you have to get a haircut. Your father's coming. You need to look good. It's like, cool. So we went to the hairdressers. The hairdresser was full, our normal hairdresser, so we went to another hairdresser. I got a haircut at the other hairdresser. My mom said, I don't like how they've cut your hair. I don't like how they've cut your hair. It doesn't look as good. It doesn't look as good, whatever. I'm 10, so I'm just a kid, right?
Yeah, you don't care.
My dad turns up. First time I've seen my dad in a year. He gets in the house. He's in the house for about 5 minutes, and my mom's like, yeah, I took him for a haircut, Emory, but, Emory was his name. Emory, but I didn't like the way they cut their hair. And my dad's like, what? And then I'm like, yeah, I don't like how they've cut it. Da-da-da. And my dad went nuts. My dad went, you're raising my boys, talking about how their hair looks. They're 10 years old. You got them looking in the mirror like girls. What's wrong with you, woman? You're gonna my boys up. And he lost his temper big, right? Mm-hmm. My mom got all scared and said, Emory, it's the first time I've seen you in a year. This is why we couldn't be together anymore. You're crazy. You're crazy. Called the police and told my dad to leave the house because my dad's saying, look, you can't raise my boys. You're gonna raise them bitches. That lost his temper. My dad was a big guy, scary guy, right? Police came, kicked my dad out. So the first time I see my dad in a year, he gets kicked out of the house in less than an hour. He messages my mom and says, look, I want to see my boys. I don't want to come to the house. I don't want to see you, bitch. I want to see my sons. So my mom puts us in a taxi to go over to his hotel. We go to his hotel, and he takes me and he marches me down to the hairdresser, and he says, son, I'm going to shave all your hair off. And I'm only 10. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, why? He's like, when you grow up and you become a man, you'll realize that nobody gives a shit about the kind of hair you have. They care about the kind of man you are. They care about your qualities as a man. Haircut is probably the least important thing. Only low quality men are going to judge themselves on a fucking haircut. If you have any kind of substance, any kind of capability as a man, it doesn't matter what your hair looks like. We're going to shave your head. So he sat me down in this chair. They start shaving my head. And because I'm only 10, I started crying, right? I don't know if the kids at school might make fun of me, whatever. I don't know. I'm 10, right? Mm-hmm. I'm human. I'm a child. I start crying. Shaved my head. He sent me back to my mom. My mom went nuts. I remember her on the phone. You're never going to see them again, Emory. Because my mom's a good person, but she's a female. She doesn't understand the real world. Women don't understand the real world.
Is she still around?
She's still around.
Okay.
You're never going to see them again, Emory. He's crying. Why did you do this? You traumatized him. All this shit. So this was the story of how it happened. And my dad, after only being in England for 2 days, once he realized after he shaved my head, he left. And he sent me a message he emailed me at the time. And he said, look, when you grow up, you're going to understand that I'm not going to have my sons raised in a paradigm where they're concerned about their haircut. That is detrimental for your mindset as a man. Life is difficult as a man, and you got bigger worries. Your mother doesn't listen to me anymore. She won't understand. Everyone's calling me crazy now, and she called the police on me, and I'm a crazy guy. I don't mind being crazy, son. I'll be as crazy as the world calls me, son. I'm 6'3" kickboxing world champion, multi-millionaire, top G. I'm here on the internet saying all these things. I'm teaching me. Who gives a about my hair? Anyone who's going to be concerned about my haircut is missing the broader message I'm trying to broadcast to the world. Like if you're listening to my words, talking about strength and heroism and all these things that can genuinely change your life, and you're sitting there going, yeah, but your haircut, like then you're just a dumbass. So that doesn't bother me. So It's a two-tiered story. It's my father's first original story, and then the time it truly hit me and I realized how correct he was.
Right.
Now, when I have sons, because I will die with 20 sons by 20 beauty queens, I've already made that proclamation.
Do you have any sons
When
yet?
I'm not prepared to disclose how many children I have, if I have children.
Okay, go ahead.
When I have 20 sons by 20 women, because I have nothing else to do and I'm rich, when I have 20 sons by 20 women, they're going to go through the exact same traumatic. It's not even trauma, but trauma. Yeah. They're going to go through the same process. There's going to be a day I'm walk them in there and shave their heads and say, no, you are a man. I'm going to tell them the exact same shit my father said to me, because my dad was so right. It's really amazing. I wish my father was alive, because all the times everyone called him crazy, people called him crazy his whole life. And as I've lived my life, I just have 100 examples of him being completely correct every time. He was right. When the world calls people crazy, listen, everyone's calling me crazy now, right? Tate's crazy. Tate's crazy. But the people with a brain are listening to me going, Tate's not crazy. Tate's right. Tate's correct. So that's why I have no hair, and that's why I refuse to have a haircut anymore of any kind, because I can't sit there as a full-grown man in a chair with another full-grown man and start explaining how I need my haircut so I don't feel insecure. If you don't cut it this way, I'm gonna be shy. It's stupid. Shave it off. Who gives a